For various reasons, I felt that it was prudent to look elsewhere, and that's when I came across live-in care.
Yep.
And honestly, from the moment I made contact to now, it's been nothing short of fantastic. Professional, efficient, everything you would want it to be.
Welcome to the Carecast. Welcome for a special edition with a client of ours, Rachel. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good, Luca. Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me on to this today.
No problem. And thanks for taking the time. We were just chatting before we press record there about how long, when we first met you, when did you start using our service? And you recalled correctly, it was October 2023. And I think you were saying to me that you were in a position where you thought you probably wanted living care, but didn't know anyone who'd had it. No friends or family had used that sort of service. So didn't really know necessarily what to foresee or how to get your head around it. But take us back to October
Yes.
23. What had happened and what?
Well, yes, it's interesting. So my parents were both living at home in the early 90s. And sadly, my mum had Parkinson's disease. And so we had some local girls who were going in to take care of mum's needs throughout the day. They would go in probably at that stage 3 times a day. And dad had found the kitchen and learned how to do all of those things to be, taking care of mum. And then he had a fall. And it was a second fall that meant he had a second partial hip replacement. So we knew that when he would be coming out of hospital, that he wouldn't be able to manage to do all of those things that he had been doing. We knew that he wasn't going to be able to manage to cook, to do the basic things that would need to do for mum and for himself, obviously, without somebody else there permanently. So, as I said to you, I have a number of friends who parents have gone into care on
Residential.
their own, but I didn't know anybody who had needed this type of care. So, yeah, so that's when I made the call to you. We had used a different care agency for the first time dad went in as a temporary thing, and for various reasons. And then my brother had handled that because I was living overseas. But for various reasons, I felt that it was prudent to look elsewhere. And that's when I came across live-in care.
Yep.
And honestly, from the moment I made contact to now, it's been nothing short of fantastic. Professional, efficient, everything you would want it to be.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. You can feel a leap moving away from an agency, even an agency that you're not particularly happy with. In fact, I was speaking with a potential client the other day. The agency had passed her details on to a third party without informing her. They'd said that they couldn't provide a carer when it was needed. And even still, she decided she wasn't going to leave their service because she just said, better the devil you know. It's really quite hard sometimes to make that leap. But you must have been considering maybe 3 or 4 different providers, I'm guessing. How could you evaluate and judge at that stage between maybe 3 or 4? Did you speak to 3 or 4 agencies?
Yes, that's interesting. So I put in a call to the agency we'd used before, and dad had his fall. He was in hospital, etc., except my brother was away. And you want something to happen quite fast. Even though I didn't need a carer within 24 hours, I needed to know that we were starting the process. So that other agency didn't come back to me.
Yep.
And, my brother, in fact, kept saying, have you chased them? It's like, well, I'm not going to chase. I'm busy doing other things.
Doesn't feel to be that way, really.
No. So that was that. Then as I think you were saying before when we were chatting, websites, there's an awful lot of information, probably a lot of which is required to be there. But some of it you kind of get a little bit lost in. There was an agency that I think there was a prepayment required, and that felt like it was a little bit of a barrier. And then now, am I right in thinking maybe there was something to do with, are you based in Oxfordshire or something like that?
Yes, that's where our Or yeah.
Well, we
No,
used to live
I
near
would say so.
Oxford, so
Yes.
as daft as that might sound, it's just like, oh, that feels kind of familiar. Do you know? I think now I'm taking my mind back. I think there was something very welcoming, and whilst professional in your website, it had a more human kind of connection. I think that's also what appealed to me. Yeah,
And so, and that was October 2023, as we've said.
yeah.
And that very first time, for anyone listening that's wondering, oh, should I go ahead with living care or shouldn't? And we always say there's no cost to the process of providing you with candidates.
Mm.
And once you've got candidates, it's not as if you need to go ahead. It's only if you're happy would you then go ahead. And those are each candidate would have seen the requirement of the role and would have actually must put themselves forward for it. So they have to say, well, yeah, I'm the right person for this job.
She's
If a client is looking for a living care and thinking, right, I need to know who that person's going to be. I want to speak to them. And that's what we do. We provide a list of candidates, and you might then say to us, well, I'd like to speak to the third and the fourth lady. And then we would arrange for you to have a chat with them. But do you recall back then, how many candidates did we provide you with? Was it?
I think the first time would have been, quite a few, because I suppose I had a little bit of time. We knew Dad was going to be in hospital for a couple of weeks, but I would think, my memory is that I would have been sent 8 or 9
Yes.
candidates.
Yeah. Because you
And
wanted to
then,
see sort of a bit of a choice.
exactly. So, a broad range in terms of not experience, because I think most of your carers seem to have, be well experienced. But in terms of age and that kind of thing, my feeling is providing care for a gentleman as opposed to a lady might be different. Dad was a managing director in his career, so there's certain personality traits that he has. Obviously, Mum always ran the house and that kind of thing, and so the carer we need for Dad, is somebody who will kind of take some of that role of lady of the house in obviously the most appropriate way. And so finding somebody that would match him, because, he's still completely complementous. So likes to chat about things. So having a carer that he would be able to easily be able to have those conversations with was also something that was really important for us. So having that choice initially was really important. And then as the time has gone on, and shall I mention the name of the person that I always deal with? Or
Yeah, oh,
does it?
yes. Well, it's Sarah, isn't it?
Sarah, yes. So Sarah and I, of course, have got to know each other well. And, Sarah has a very good understanding now of, the carers that she thinks will get on well with Dad, and, be right for him. And, she's made wonderful suggestions about the length of time that people come to him for, and, all sorts of things like that. So she doesn't need to send me 8 or 9 people now, profiles. She probably only needs to send 2 or 3, because she will have a good understanding of what works well.
Yes. So, yes. So Sarah and yourself have actually been basically working together to
Mm,
choose the right sort of candidates and the right people for over
yeah.
sort of 2 years now. So you most likely had probably tens, if not hundreds of telephone calls together. Tell me, if you want to get hold of Sarah, is it a case of calling and then you're waiting for the phone and then waiting for a call back and you're on a queue? And does it work like that? I'm kidding.
If
I know
I ring,
you
yes,
do.
if I ring Sarah, either she answers,
Yep.
which is brilliant, or somebody else will answer and let Sarah know that because she's on another call. I mean,
Yep.
assuming she's obviously not away. And then Sarah will ring me straight back, and then I emailed her last night thinking, oh, okay, I know that we're coming up to a changeover and I'm going to see Dad this weekend. It will be the first thing he asks me. So I emailed her after hours last night, and I can see there's a reply. I haven't looked at my emails much today. So it's always a very efficient and fast response.
One of my little bugbears is calling up a company or an entity, a restaurant or something like that, and the phone just doesn't get picked up. It's frustrating. And let's see now, and therefore the choice of carer, which is critical to Dad and what makes him happy, wants to engage with the individual. It's not just someone there delivering care one-sided in a one-sided
Mhm.
fashion to him.
Mm.
Effective, it's two people living together for a
Yes.
period of time, which may
Yes.
be 4-6 weeks before maybe the carer has a break, but
Yes.
actually having someone there that he feels is with him, as
Yes.
much as for him,
Yes. Oh,
is very
absolutely. Yeah. They develop a relationship of sorts, because they are doing the personal care for him. They're cooking for him. But he likes to learn about them too. So there is, and then they share stories, and it's a really important factor, particularly after my mum passed away. That then the lovely girls who were coming in, the local girls who were coming in to take care of mum 4 times a day, before, towards the end. That meant that there was always somebody coming and going from the house. And so then once mum had died, it was Dad and the living carer. And so it was that person was really able to, in fact, the lady we had at that time was just magnificent, because he tended to him. He's not he doesn't talk about his emotions, and she knew that she just was there for him. Can I, put it like that? It's just,
yeah.
she, yeah, it's very special actually. And to be able to look back on that, I mean, you feel, as the daughter that lives a couple of 100 miles away, I still form a relationship with them to a degree as well. And, I care about them, and because they're caring for my dad.
No, absolutely. I mean, you need a level of trust, don't you, really?
You do.
The appropriate level, and to feel that you're on the same wavelength with the person looking after your loved one. Have there been times, for example, when perhaps a carer has had to leave earlier than they thought they might? They might have sort of family members that are unwell, or might have happened in their life that then means the schedule is changed from what you imagined it would be. And how was that handled?
Yes.
If these
Um,
things do happen. It's
for
no
sure.
no
No,
use pretending they don't. But
no, there was one carer, I think last year, and she herself was having something health wise going on that she was a bit concerned about. And I can't remember the actual details, but essentially it was a matter of, okay, I'll get in touch with Sarah. She
yeah,
felt that she needed to, I think she felt she needed to go to hospital even. Anyway, Sarah arranged, again, we had somebody there by the end of that day. Um,
yeah,
and yes, handled really efficiently, very calm, just, all right, we'll get somebody there. And then it was obviously however things work at your end must mean that there is these are the people that are currently available. Where's the nearest person? That was the person that can get there sort of within the fastest time, so to speak. And that's what we managed to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's no use pretending problems don't exist. But when they do happen, if
Yeah.
they're resolved in an orderly fashion, I think that's what
Yeah.
we aim for, really.
Yeah. And other things that happen, Luca, as well, like, somebody saying, a carer saying, well, actually, I was going to leave on such a day, but could I leave 2 days earlier? Or, actually, if they're maybe going overseas, could I stay that extra day? We've always set out to be flexible. And as long as Dad has that person there that he needs at the beginning or end of the day, then, but yeah, it's always been managed really well.
And was there ever any sort of and I suppose there should be when you're sort of looking at the situation once sadly mum had passed away and you're wondering what's best for Dad. Had you ever even conceived of Dad going into a care home, or was just that totally off the answer question?
Totally out of the question. Is my brother and I we did talk about it prior to mum passing away. We have talked about it since. It it would, we don't know what would happen if his health deteriorated, for instance, dramatically. But he is so happy to be at home. And he has people visit him, he can go to church, all sorts of things. His quality of life is great. And so because we are able to do, have somebody there living with him, and that's certainly his choice, that's what we're doing. I don't know, I think I rambled a little bit with that,
No,
but
not.
brother did go earlier this year. He did go in, or last year, late last year, he did go and visit. There's a local care home. But we just think Dad's in the, he really is in the best place.
Yeah, the other sort of consideration probably as well is when you're having living care at home, there's one person there dedicated to your needs and to engaging with you and chatting. So their stress levels are a lot lower than maybe someone working in the care home that has to look after many different people.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot more sort of natural way of doing things, I think.
Yeah, it is. And we've compared the costs, obviously, that because that's relevant. And, factored in the costs of Dad running the house and, all of those sorts of things. But we still are very happy that having somebody there with him and him being at home is the best thing. It's what's right for him.
And just probably one last question. What does Dad tell you about it? Does he sort of feedback? You must have chats directly with him and he'll say, oh, such and such is coming soon. I'm looking forward to her coming back. And more such is care is going to be leaving. What sort of things does he say about his?
He certainly was more involved. I have to say I've slightly put my foot down in that respect and just say, no, just Dad, leave it to me.
Yes.
And I've explained that, Sarah will have some kind of system that prompts her that says, he's going to need somebody soon. But he does there's a little anxiety that he has around that. The current lady who's coming to him is coming for 3 months at a time. And that has made a difference for him because there's less changeover. I know that, isn't necessarily what's right for everybody. But I'll ring him and I'll say, how are things and how is she? And, and I can always tell because there's just he's just very relaxed. There may have been once or twice where he has had somebody who he's perhaps, what's the best way of putting it? They just slightly rubbed each other up the wrong way. And that's partly because he likes things done a certain way. And if they're not done that way, that's the old managing director element coming out. But we've been able to discuss that and say, okay, maybe that's not the best person for you to have. I think they've been reliable. I can see that they've done all the things that need to be done. But if the personality, for whatever reason, isn't quite right, then we'll find somebody else. So he was fixated for a while on having a team, having the same people on a kind of revolving. And I think Sarah and I at one point agreed that wasn't necessarily the best thing because it was too set in his mind.
Yeah. In fact, when I try to sort of describe how things are going to look to potential clients for the first time, I try to express that eventually a team may come along in a way that you would wish for it, but to force it actually, or to try, being open to it is probably the right way to think about it, right? And over time, it will naturally assemble, I think, the sorts of carers that you like and who like doing that particular role will come exactly. The times on that, we tend to leave to the appropriate time and not sort of think maybe months or years ahead because obviously
don't know what's going to happen.
It would be silly to plan too far ahead. You've got to plan appropriately far ahead.
Luca, at one point, Dad would have been quite happy if I could have just planned them for the rest of his days, and he would be, that was when I kind of made the boundary a little firmer because we know at one point we had somebody, or we had a sense of who was going to be there for the next 6 months, and I just said, and still you're not happy, so we had a conversation around that. But there's the lady that had to go to hospital, and then we needed, obviously, I don't know, we haven't seen her, so I think she did need to take some time off work. there was another lady that came a couple of times who was really very fond of. She's caring for her own elderly parents now. And so, it is much better for us in our situation to have that flexibility, definitely.
She may well come back, the lady who's looking after her own parents, hopefully in the future.
Yes,
Um,
I hope so.
Actually, one more thing. What sort of things does Dad like to enjoy doing? You mentioned that obviously he is looking forward at the planning, and he's taken somewhat of a step back on his involvement in planning of the carers and his involvement to thinking about that. But what does he tend to like to do during the day with the carers? Is it just quite relaxed or passive things such as watching TV and
Yes.
or listening to music? And it's just quite
Yes.
gentle.
He will sit and he reads the paper in the morning. He does the Telegraph crossword every day. And so what he, is if the carer goes and sits with him for a little while, even if, they're doing their own thing, but just, to have a little bit of company while he's doing that. And same, if he's watching some TV in the afternoon and thing, he does like the routine. So, that works well, I think, for him and the carer, because the carer knows, okay, well, it's 2:00. This is what, I go for my break now, or it's such and such o'clock. He'll want to have this. So I think there is that when everything's running smoothly, I think there is a sense of contentment within the house. I'm sure the carers do their own thing and their own, duties, if I can call them that. But he, as I said before, there is a connection between them. So it isn't like they're there just working for him. They're living in the house together. Certainly when I'm there, I feel that. It feels very comfortable.
Well, I must say as well, you're supporting your dad to keep his own independence in a very kind and gentle.
Yeah, it's definitely something that mum and dad always talked about, being able to stay in their own home. And of course, you don't know how things are going to go. You don't know what's going to happen. But it does feel, we do feel very blessed, actually, that he is able to do that, that mum was able to be there right till the end. And that there've always been lovely people there taking care of both of them. And then now dad. Yeah. So I can't speak highly enough of the Living Care Company. Seriously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time, and very moving, actually. Thank you.
You're very welcome.